Good morning and welcome to the second webinar hosted by SSLA, the Symbiosis School for Liberal Arts. As you can see on your screens, we request you to turn off your mics and cameras. Please do not click on present now. We will be starting in a couple of minutes. And if you can see on your right-hand side on the screen, there's a window titled Ahan Presentation. Please pin that window to your main screen and you should be able to see the presentation well. So just a quick look at the basics, rules for an effective and productive use of your time, and for us to share information through this webinar, which we thought we would bring to you as a follow-up to the last webinar that we had. The first webinar we had last Sunday talked about the liberal arts program in general, why we should be looking at a liberal arts program in these times. It spent a lot of time looking at the SSLA program structure. And this is a follow-up to that. Of course, it's independent in the sense that even if you have missed the last webinar, this should not be a problem. Srijani, you need to, you're presenting to everyone. Srijani, if you can just look at that slide that's there. Please pin Ahan's presentation to your main screen. Everyone who's joining in, please remember, mute your mics and do not present. If you click on present now, we will be seeing your screen and we won't be able to see the presentation that my team of students has made. So if I can request everyone to go on to Ahan's presentation, pin that on, we should be fine. Just for everyone's information, this webinar is being recorded, and recording will be available on YouTube. Last Sunday's webinar already is available on YouTube. If you go to our website or if you go to our YouTube handle, you should be able to see it. To be honest, it's not the greatest production value. It's a simple webinar, what we did last Sunday, being recorded and available. The idea being that those who missed out, those who joined in late, those who couldn't join for whatever reason, should have an opportunity to hear and see what we did. So it's 12 noon this Sunday, and I'm happy to be here with all of you. My name is Dr. Anita Patankar, and I'm the director at the Symbiosis School for Liberal Arts. This is the second in a series of webinars that we planned, because we realized that parents and students have questions. This is a difficult time to be in as a parent as well as a student. It's a difficult time because everything seems so uncertain. And yet we have to make choices. We have to make choices about the educational programs we're going to join, about which institute, which program. Right now, everything seems a little difficult because even the websites, including ours, have to be declared, to be announced without so many dates that normally would have been there. Under normal circumstances, the Symbiosis entrance test would have taken place yesterday, and most of you would have completed with that phase 1 of the admission process. So we are in uncertain times and difficult times, and therefore we thought that a webinar was a great way to reach out to you, to share some things that we feel are important, and also to have an opportunity to listen to you and to listen to your queries and answer them. For some of you who know the Symbiosis School for Liberal Arts, we've always done these lovely public seminars where my team and I travel across the length and breadth of India, and we go to some cities and we talk to students and parents who are interested in a liberal arts program, who are interested in SSLA's liberal arts program, which is very unique and distinctive. And this webinar is our way of using technology from within the safe confines of our home to reach out and achieve the same objective. I thought that we would start with, I hope all of you can see the presentation that's there. Again, for those who are joining in a little late, please mute your mics. Please do not share your screen, and please pin Ahan's presentation to your main screen so you can see the presentation. The title for today's webinar is about admissions during a pandemic. And we're talking about a pandemic because we are in the middle of one. But what does it mean to make choices about our futures in a crisis situation or in an uncertain time? I was reading some stats, a couple of days ago, and I realized that, the International Labour Organization, for example, has predicted that more than 190 million layoffs are likely to happen. This is global disruption at a level that we have not seen. I don't think in this, my living past for sure, we've ever experienced a global disruption of this magnitude, where countries have all shut down at the same time, where we are confined to our homes, irrespective of where we are, which continent we're on. We're all confined to homes. Business has come to a grinding halt. Public utilities are severely challenged. Hospitals are severely challenged. There is financial and business uncertainty topped by all the health and public safety uncertainty. And one thing that everyone seems to be unanimous on is that life is going to change, that life has changed, and that life will continue to change, and that we face a future that we have no idea what it's going to bring. I, for one, don't honestly think that life is going to change so drastically. I think history will prove to us that our memories for things that have happened in the past are not as long as we might think. When we're in the middle of a crisis, it seems like the biggest possible crisis to hit us, and we feel that we will change and everything will change. That we will understand relationships far more, that we will put personal relationships and social relationships above money and profit and business. And I don't know about that. But I do know that we're going to reassess our lives and the way we live. And I think that is true for business, but it's also especially true for educational institutions. I think for institutions, especially within India, we will reassess, for example, the use of educational technology. We will look at blended learning. That is, can we do a large number of activities from the confines or from the privacy of our homes, from the field, from the NGOs and associations that we work with? Do students have to come to the classroom to learn? And I think that mix, that balance is going to keep changing. So one thing that's going to happen for sure is that we are going to look at two things. We're going to look at recovery. We're going to look at resilience. How do we build resilience within ourselves, within the communities that we live in? For SSLE, it means within SSLE itself, within our students and within our faculty and staff. And then the focus is going to be, how do we use these learnings to prepare for the future? Because preparedness is equal to confidence. And that is something that I have realized in these past 35 years that I've been a teacher. And since 2006, since I've been at a liberal arts program, that the more you prepare students and faculty for uncertainty, the more is their level of confidence at meeting challenges head on. And I think that's something that I see in my students every single day when I'm WhatsApping with them or when I'm chatting with them, when I'm talking to my faculty. And I'll share with you how we've hit the road running at SSLA in these past 3 months. I think, I don't know where I read this, but I read this sentence that said, the best way to predict the future is to help create it. And I think that's a great line, for us to go back to, and a great philosophy and optimistic beacon for us to hold on to during these times. And it's something that at SSLA we have tried to imbibe within ourselves as faculty and staff, and also with our students, that collaboration, cooperation, solution finding, these are things that we need to focus on, and not just rote learning and the mugging up of theory and the knowledge that we need to have, but how can that help us build a better, safer, more secure future, not just for ourselves, but also for the communities and the families and the people that we live with. So let me talk a little bit about why you should be looking at a liberal arts program. And let me begin by congratulating all of you who've chosen to join the seminar. Not because this is a part of my promotional spiel. Um, yes, I am here to help you understand liberal arts and to help you understand what the SSLA program is, but also as an educator, and more than anything else, I think as a parent, as a mother. um, I think what I hoped for my children, and what I hope for, I have two boys, 31 and 28, and everything that I hoped for them is what I hope for my students every single day, that they can stand on their own two feet, that they can face problems, that they should fall every once in a while, because in the process of falling and failing, you learn so much about life, but that you optimistically get back up, and that you have confidence in the skills and the knowledge and the capabilities that you have learned and the values that you've learned, to be able to face each challenge well, and that you gain happiness and peace and contentment from the small and the big things that you face. Uh, I think it's the same things that I want as an educator for the students who join us at SSLA, but more so even for your children, whether you join SSLA or not. I think this is what every parent wants. So let me talk a little bit about why I honestly feel that a liberal arts program is the best program during such times. In times of peace and in times of safety and certainty, like we lived in maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago, these were not conversations that resonated so strongly with people. But today, this conversation resonates with people. Um, I only wish, if I had a magic wand, that I could make the program a program that could be replicated everywhere, that every child in India could afford to go to a liberal arts school, a liberal arts college. They all could sit in small groups and learn. But sadly, tragically, I doubt if that's going to happen during my lifetime. I hope it happens at some point of time. But right now, the reality is that it's a program that's available for a few. It's a program that's available for the intellectually and academically ambitious. And I'd like to share this program with you. A liberal arts program, if you ask me, and I've done a lot of thinking about this during this COVID lockdown. I think the lockdown has had one huge advantage also, is that you have more time to think, and you have more time to talk to yourself, and all the hustle and the bustle of everyday life is out. I'm not spending 3.5 hours in traffic anymore. And I realized that it all boiled down to the ability to imagine and constantly reimagine future scenarios. What is likely to happen? What could happen? What should happen? What are my responses going to be as a student, as an employee, as an employer, as a manager, as a student doing a master's program, as a daughter, as a son? What are things that are going to help me understand what's going to happen in the future? How can I see connections between what's happening in politics and what's happening in the area of health, and what's happening in economics, and what's happening in Europe, and what's happening in the Antarctic, and what's happening in the field of climate change, uh, and all of these very things that are happening. uh, what is my place within that? What's my position on all of these issues? So I think a liberal arts program is really, really good at helping students learn how to imagine and reimagine possibilities. imagine and reimagine what happens when disciplines meet, when they clash, when they make friends with each other, when they work together. All of this is then linked with faculty being trained to try and understand what are um, what are the skills that students need to do this, and therefore addressing skill gaps is something that's really important. Uh, you may have learned or you may have heard about these terms: learn, unlearn, and relearn. And I think those three words are very typical of the liberal arts program at SSLA for sure, but everywhere. That there are times to learn, and then there are times to unlearn, and then there are times to relearn things. And this constant assessment of what's happening in the world that go beyond the narrow confines of a conventional single disciplinary effort. This is what our liberal arts program tries and focus on. Another thing that we at the School for Liberal Arts focus on is the need for collaborations, that we need to work in collaborative groups. We need to cooperate and collaborate, which means that people who are studying biology need to work with people from computer studies, with people from economics, politics, anthropology, business, media, all of these, because that's what happens in real life. In real life, those are the different functions, the different functional areas that are working together. If you look at artificial intelligence today, for example, who's working together? People from the fields of computer studies are working together with people from biology, with people from language, linguistics. They're all working together and they're coming up with solutions and with products that will try to make our life much happier. And one of the things that this is all premised on today is the importance of technology. For us at SSLA, it means education technology, so ed tech as it is popularly called. But for people out there in the world, as my students will be when they graduate, digital transformations, understanding digital and technology capabilities, irrespective of the discipline that you choose to study in. So this constant assessing and re-evaluating our own positions, assessing and reevaluating our confidence to work with content, to work with new content, to work with subjects that used to scare me, but I can't afford to ignore because they're really essential and important from a future point of view. These are things that our liberal arts program helps students build and rebuild on. So the constant focus is of building and rebuilding, not just our capabilities, but also our confidence and our positions from which we work. Because we're constantly looking at newer models. And I think this is something that the SSLA program is really good at. So we need to understand what happened in history, because that's important. We need to understand what's happening today, and we need to imagine what the future looks like. And therefore, irrespective of the subjects that you study, this understanding of the past, the present, and the future becomes the focus of all our conversations and our discussions. Co-creating solutions is something that we try and focus on. So if you were to look at the SSLA Liberal Arts program, I think some of the things that I take pride in, which are associated with our program, is the fact that it's a truly multi and transdisciplinary program. We try and weave together the different disciplines, not only in our classrooms, but also in the assignments that are done, the assessments and the projects that students are doing, the dissertations that students are doing. Um, for each student to learn how to do research, because research is about scientific inquiry. If I am faced with a problem, how do I solve it? It's not just about wanting to do a master's program and then maybe a PhD program. Yes, that for sure. But in addition to that, in my work life in the future, when I face issues, when I face problems, how am I going to respond? How am I going to think scientifically about solutions? How am I going to test them? How am I going to help my family or my organization come out with solutions and solutions to problems that are based on scientific inquiry. Critical thinking is something that we usually struggle with in India, where classroom sizes are large. One of the biggest advantage of coming to SSLA is the fact that we have small classroom sizes for most of our courses, especially for all our majors, our minors, our electives, even our cores now we've broken down into smaller batches. And the idea is that you foster critical thinking, help students learn how to think. And you think that's easy? It's actually not, because most of our traditional education tends to foster memory, reproductive thinking, applications that are based on what someone else found to be true. And along with this, and this is based on two really important foundations. One is knowledge of your core domain. So very often when I meet parents, they ask me, so many subjects. My kid is going to become a jack of all trades. But I want my child to go to a conventional program because they learn only that one discipline. The SSLA program prides itself on having breadth as well as depth. The breadth comes in from the cores, and I'll talk a little later about that, the cores and the electives, so that you know what's happening everywhere around the world, all the foundational subjects that you need to know so that you can make those connections later on in life as well. The depth comes from your major and your minor specializations. So the core domain knowledge blended with hard and soft skills is something that the world needs today. I was reading this really interesting, I think it was a Deloitte report a few months ago, in which they've done some kind of a survey of CEOs, what is typically called the C-suite executives across some 300 or 400 organizations across the world. And they said, when you're hiring people today in this VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world, what are you looking for? And I was surprised and pleasantly surprised to see that core domain knowledge actually came in quite low. The most important things were cultural competence, collaborative skills, fear of not trying something adventurous, the desire to venture into the unknown, the desire to experiment, the desire to work with people across functional and disciplinary bounds. So that is something that the liberal arts program at SSLA is good at. We have a strong industry connect. We have a strong NGO connect. We are blessed in that sense at being located in Pune. Pune has a very strong industry that also is interested in education. We work with visiting faculty who come from here, and therefore the program has a strong industry connect, NGO connect, practitioner connect, and we also have a very strong field-based experiential learning component. Let me link all of this very quickly with what we did in the past 3 months. Since January, we've been talking about COVID. Initially, we talked about what's happening in Wuhan, what's happening in China, and then we started thinking about, so what does that mean for us sitting here in Pune at SSLA? And I'm really happy to share with you that we seem to have hit the ground running really fast. I honestly do not think, and I'm not exaggerating, that we took time. I think we took a weekend, and Monday morning, and I know this for a fact because I have a 7:30 class early Monday mornings, we were in class after the lockdown without a days. We did not have to cancel classes for a single day. The reason being that since we set up liberal arts at Symbiosis in 2006, and since the 4-year program started in 2011, we've actually been doing pretty much what now everyone is talking about. We had started changing our educational program much before the pandemic hit. So our responses have not been in response to COVID-19. We had already started the change. The student being at the center of our educational philosophy is something that had started from the inception of liberal arts and symbiosis. So since June 2011, when students joined our 4-year program, the student has been at the center of the teaching methodologies, of the way faculty are chosen, the way assessments are built, the multidisciplinary aspect of the program, the multidisciplinary and multiple pedagogy based assessments. So they were making films, they were going online, they were meeting people, they were doing surveys, they were doing a whole lot of things besides simple written exams or rote based memory exams. So we had already started the change. And to be honest, COVID didn't force us to look at our students as being the center. They already were at the center. What did we do in these past 2 months? We did virtual classes, we did online classes. We completed all our courses to our satisfaction online. We completed our online assessments. Students made presentations, students gave vivas, students submitted what we call take-home assignments for many, many classes, including mine. I teach a class called Advertising and Contemporary Culture. I didn't even have to change my assessment pattern. The only thing is, instead of making their presentations face-to-face, they made the presentations face-to-face on Zoom. So we used technology and we were able to complete our courses. We were able to complete all our assessments and examinations. And as of yesterday, our entire exam process has been complete. Vivas were conducted, presentations were made, assignments were completed, and I think faculty now are in the process of uploading marks. We had a few students who had to stay back in the hostel because they couldn't travel back home. Special assistance to those students. Some students on an exchange couldn't go back. We have a lovely young girl from Japan who's still with us because flights couldn't take off, and therefore special assistance for them. We have a Symbiosis Center for Emotional Well-being. They are doing online therapy sessions. Our health center is doing online fitness and health modules. We have our counselors available online, on WhatsApp, by email, on phone. The student council came up with virtual community building activities. So some of the competitions that they were planning to do in person. So for example, if they were to do, let's say, a carom competition, they now have virtual games. So virtual community building activities. Our collaborations with our international partners has continued. And I think from today onwards, we are announcing collaborative sessions with international faculty for students to join in. They're going to be 19-minute sessions where students will talk about the impact that COVID-19 has had on their lives, on the communities that they live in. And it's giving students a safe space for them to think, to evaluate, to introspect, and to visualize a future based on the learnings that they have. And these conversations will be monitored and facilitated by faculty from partner universities. So we have actually been able to be ahead of the curve when it comes to our response to this uncertainty that has hit our lives. And therefore, if you ask me, I'm not going to use the word hit when it comes to our educational response. Our educational and academic and social response has been tempered by the fact that our program made it easy for us to seamlessly transition into the requirements that COVID made mandatory for all of us. And therefore, let me go on to the next slide, which will tell you, we just picked up two two responses that we got from students and faculty. And I think students and faculty were happy with the transition. So whether it was faculty at SSLA who were able to complete their classes, they were able to complete their vivas. Similarly, students, we have Varad, one of the students, who says that it's not just that we were able to complete our classes, but we were also able to continue being mentored, to have counselors that were available. So if we could go on to the next slide that shows two testimonials, that would be great. I'm just going to pause for a second over here. My slide seems to have got frozen. Yeah. Okay, I'm back. Um, so, so I feel all in all, SSLA responded really, really well. And SSLA's program structure and the way we deliver that program structure and the way student, faculty, and student staff, faculty together are able to work very collaboratively in this co-constructed atmosphere made this transition, I think, easier. I was talking to the student council president and a couple of fourth year students recently, and they were saying that while we miss being at SSLA because we're now in a lockdown back at home, the fact is we moved seamlessly into this new normal, and it didn't seem so new because we just kind of moved from face-to-face physical to face-to-face virtually. I'd like to move on to the last part of my first segment of this webinar. I wanted to talk to you about admissions during a crisis or a pandemic. And one of the things that I want to talk to you about is the fact that as parents, and here I'm talking to the parents if they're there at this webinar, that when you look for taking admission, what is it that you should look for? I think you should look for an educational program and an institute that has high credibility. And to my mind, credibility is going to come from two basic points. Number one is the ability of the institute to deliver the program that they promise you and to be able to deliver the learning outcomes that they promise. So if I were to tell you that the SSLA program structure is designed to help your students learn how to think, how to speak, how to be critically conscious of what's happening in his or her world, to be able to do research, to be able to engage with confidence in academic conversations about what's happening in the world, to understand the transdisciplinary aspects of problems and situations faced in the world, and to be prepared to face life's many, many challenges, in addition to strong domain knowledge, then what is my ability to deliver on this? And I would say that SSLA's ability to deliver on this is extremely high. The second thing that I think credibility is based on is how deep is the learning experience. So therefore, deep learning experience and deep learning experience leading to deep confidence. That's not just superficial that I got a 90% in an exam and therefore I'm confident of facing the world, but the fact that I know I truly learned. I know I faced situations and I looked at assignments and I looked at projects and I worked with associates and I did my research and I looked at all my assignments from a very critical point of view, and I have learned that I can have confidence in my own abilities. Uh, that deep learning experience and confidence that students gain is also something that we must assess. So if you look at deep learning and if you look at ability to deliver, the third thing that you should look at when you're looking at an institute is, does that institute have the ability to offer mentoring competence and peer-to-peer learning opportunities? And I think on all three, we score pretty high. So if you were to ask me what's the credibility rating or inflection point that SSLA has, I would have to say it's pretty strong. But then I'm biased. I live with SSLA. It's like my baby. Uh, I think we do a fantastic job. I think those are the questions you should ask yourself. That what does this program deliver? What is its program structure? Classroom size impacts ability to learn deeply. Uh, Classroom size and pedagogy impacts mentoring that happens in class and outside. Peer-to-peer learning is impacted by, again, methodologies and opportunities to work in groups. Students complain about that sometimes, that we have to work with people we don't like. Um, why can't I just work with friends? But then that's the way the world works, right? Most of the times we end up working with people we may not necessarily like or want to spend our leisure time with, but we need to work with them for the sake of the organization and for goals. I think SSLA scores really, really high. So I would say that as an institution, SSLA has a great program structure. It has tried and tested pedagogies, assessments, and evaluations because, and I'm not bragging, I'm just stating fact. We're the oldest liberal arts program in the country, and therefore we've had a lot of time to evolve and to learn from our mistakes. Are we perfect? No program is. I mean, even the Harvards and the Yales and the Stanfords are dealing with new situations every year, and they keep evolving and changing. So are we evolving? Yes, we are. But we're young and hungry enough to want to do that. I think we are blessed with this amazing student and faculty group. And at this point of time, I should say that this webinar and this lovely presentation and three-fourths of what I do and say comes because I have an amazing team behind me. So look at the program structure, and the slide shows you the program structure. We have an amazing lineup of courses. Please go to our website to have a look at that. We have an amazing combination of majors and minors. And to be honest, not too many Indian institutions are able to deliver this with the experience that we have. And our experience is homegrown. I take great pride in the fact that SSLA is an India homegrown educational institution. We built it from ground up. Our faculty are Indian faculty who wanted a challenging, satisfying job. Our students come from here. They're ambitious and hungry enough to want to invest heavily of themselves, but I think they're also smart. They'd rather work hard for 4 years and then have a comparatively easy time, as alumni tell them. It's much easier at a master's program and doing a job when you've learned so much in your undergrad program. So that's our program structure. Some of you are already aware of this. For some, it's new. Majors, minors, electives, mandatory internships in the area of major, mandatory community outreach, because we do believe that as students and as faculty members, we're very privileged to have this opportunity to learn. And there are great opportunities in the not-for-profit sector for us to work in government, in the social sector. So that's our program structure. Let me very briefly take you through the admission process. So the admission process is actually, there are two ways to get into SSLA. One is through the Symbiosis entrance test, and one is through your SAT score. If you have an SAT score that you're happy with, you can plug that score in. Either way, whether you want the SET score to be counted or the SAT score to be counted, you do have to go to the SET website. You have to register. You have to pay $17.50 as a registration fee to SET. Once you fill in your form, it'll ask you for SET or SAT. Plug that in. If you choose the SET, then keep in touch with this website, because it will tell you in the next 1 week, hopefully by the 10th of May, dates should come up over there and more clarity in terms of the lockdown and its impact on our ability to conduct this test. So keep an eye out there. That is followed by a personal interaction and writing ability test. Those dates and logistics will go up there soon. So keep your eye on that. Keep all your data ready for uploading. May 10th, as of now, is the last date for registrations. So keep your eye out for that. The next slide, I think, is going to tell you a little bit about the fees. No, this just sums up things once again for you in terms of what we're looking at. I think it will tell you information about the SET, the SAT, as I was mentioning. For some of you, you might have questions. What's asked in an SET? Then it's a general English, it's quantitative knowledge, general knowledge, as well as analytical and logical reasoning. The personal interaction is just a conversation: who you are, why you want to do liberal arts, why do you want to come with us. This is one of the lovely things about SSLA. We're a very small family. We're a community or a family of 450 only, which means that we live in each other's pockets, we interact with each other, we engage with each other. Conversations, good, bad, ugly, are important. We argue with each other, uh, just like families do. And therefore, the personal interaction is just an understanding of who you are and why you want to be with us. The writing ability test, on the other hand, is looking at vocabulary. It's usually your verbal, written understanding of a visual image that's given to you. So therefore, your ability to interpret a picture and then write it down in words. If you are an international student, either because you have a person of India origin or a overseas citizen of India card. Previously, the government used to give PIO cards. Now all PIO cards are considered to be OCI cards. If you're a foreign national, which means that you have a passport of another country, you can apply over here. A non-resident Indian is an Indian who has an Indian passport but is living abroad, probably because your parents are working abroad. It's mandatory for NRIs to have given either the 10th or the 12th standard exams abroad. If you're an NRI who's living in India and you've given your 10th and your 12th in India, then please go to the SET website and apply there. www.scie.ac.in. That's the website of the Symbiosis Center for International Education. That's the centralized office that takes care of all international admissions. So whether you are a foreign national, a PIO, OCI, or a non-resident Indian, please go there. This is a quick look at the fees. The fees are not subject to change. 4,05,000 for Indian students, 6,10,000 for international students. And the hostel and the mess, if you so choose to stay at the Symbiosis hostel and mess, is anywhere between 1,20,000 to 1,50,000, depending upon two-seater, three-seater, etc. So that's just a quick snapshot of our fee structure. This is just a snapshot of who we are and how you can contact us. Shweta is here. So I am joined at this webinar by my team. I have a team of lovely young people. Dr. Shweta Sinha Deshpande is the head of anthropology history. She teaches really interesting courses called Art of History and Anthropology. So she is the deputy director. Atia takes care of psychology, and Sakshi teaches economics. They form the crux and the main admissions, promotions team. And the guys who do all the work and make us look very good are Yash and Ahan and Varat, and they have a team behind them. but the ones who do the heavy lifting, and we look happy, sweat free, taking all the basket of well wishes and greetings. So that's our team, and that's the School for Liberal Arts. Very quickly to sign up. Um, we're a 4-year liberal arts program. We're the oldest and the pioneers in India. Symbiosis International University is a deemed to be university established under the UGC Act of 1956. I always mention this, and I take great pride in the fact that we are probably India's only not-for-profit private sector deemed to be university set up by a teacher. No affiliation to any political party, no affiliation to any corporate organization. In that sense, a true educational institution that we all are very proud of, set up in Pune as a need-based university. And I think that need-based kind of resonates with me very strongly, because when India wasn't talking about liberal arts, we started working on it. I have the pleasure of being a part of that team. Shweta was a part of that team as well. In 2004, 2005, when we started doing research on liberal arts. At that time as a program, because we felt that academically ambitious and talented students from India shouldn't have to go abroad to study for a program that is leadership focused. And when I say leadership, I don't necessarily mean only CEOs, but of anyone who wants to make a difference in life, anyone who wants to be a problem solver, anyone who wants to be a part of the solution and not the problem. So I'm extremely proud of the program that has evolved. We now offer a 4-year honors program. It's a program that's evolved through trial and error. It's a program that now has had 6 batches who have graduated, and our alumni are doing wonderful work in the higher educational institutions that they've joined and in organizations that they've joined, from the World Bank in Washington, D.C., to some of the best organizations in India. Do check out our website. Do write in to us if you have any queries. May 10th is the last day for registering if you're interested. And if I may, as a parent, reach out to parents in the audience sitting at home, ask yourself a simple question. What's the one great investment that I can make in my children's future, which is never going to become outdated and which is never going to render me a loss? And the answer is education. And I think a liberal arts education is a fantastic investment to make, especially at a time when we are hit with the realization that the world and the future is definitely uncertain. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's look at questions now. I got carried away talking, so I haven't had a look at the chat box, but I hope our team has. But if there are questions, I'll try and take them. And let me see what I can do. So Spandana's got a question, and I think Athiya's answered her, but I'm going to just quickly take Spandana's question and then answer a whole lot of other people as well. Spandana's asked me, please give us insight into how studying media studies at SSLA is different from studying media at SCMC. The same as to why study business studies at SSLA, why study computers at SSLA, when traditional programs offer that as well. And I think the answer is simple. The answer is that you can study and specialize in a discipline either at a conventional discipline-focused institute, or you can study a discipline and specialize in it at a liberal arts program. You should ask yourself, what do you think employers are going to require from you in the future? And the answer is going to be, faced with a volatile, uncertain future, where technology and knowledge is going to keep becoming outdated every couple or every few years, what is it that people would want, and what would you want from yourself? And the answer is, I would want to know about my discipline, but I would want to know about my discipline against a background and a foundation of everything else that's happening in the world, because disciplines are not watertight compartments. So what's happening in media constantly gets impacted by, for example, what's happening in law, what's happening in technology, what's happening in the field of public health, what's happening in politics. And therefore, imagine how confident and how effective and productive you would be if you understood everything there was to understand about media, but you also understood all of these disciplines and factors that impact it on a daily basis. And that's the difference between studying at a conventional discipline, single discipline focused institute versus cross disciplinary specializations at a liberal arts college. So, for example, you could study media with two double minors in politics and law, or computers and law, or film studies and law at a liberal arts college, which you couldn't study at a traditional college. Plus, you'd have the research and everything else. Can we apply an SSLA by giving SAT scores? Yes, of course, absolutely. I think questions in the SET, yes, GK, current affairs, there'll be English, there'll be maths, there'll be logical reasoning. Estimated Vino, I wish I could tell you that. I get up each morning wanting clarity on that myself. The only thing that I can tell you is by the 10th of May, we should have, even before that, if possible, we should have an answer as to what SIU is going to do. UGC has given some broad guidelines. We are discussing what we can do given the lockdown and given the fact that proctored exams, that means while online exams are possible from the comfort of your home, how do we ensure very honestly that you're the one writing it? That is why you always have to go to a center, and that's known as a proctored exam. So we're looking for options there. We should be able to come back to you by the 10th of May. I'm sorry I don't have an answer for you before that, but we are talking to our tech experts and consultants, and we're looking to, without diluting the quality of our entrance exam, which we were really happy with, we're trying to come up with a new solution. Does SSLA come under Swati ma'am or Vidya ma'am? Okay, so I'm assuming you're talking about the university. SSLA is a constituent. It's a part of Symbiosis International Deemed University. The pro-chancellor of SIU is Dr. Vidya Yerodikar. So yes, in that sense, SSLA comes under SIU and comes under
Hello.
the genesis of Symbiosis. Then Symbiosis was set up in 1971 by the Chancellor, Dr. Muzumdar, for foreign students, primarily African and Asian nationals. There are healthy scholarships there. There are merit-based scholarships for Indian students, but they start from the second year onwards. So your performance in the first year exams helps you qualify for that. I think SSLA team, if there are any questions I have missed. How Aman, is that Aman's asking me a question? Um, is Aman's question about how will we be able to register till the 10th? I'm still preparing for SAT and haven't SAT and haven't given. Then Aman, you should register for the SET. Because if you want to register with SAT, you have to register with an SAT score, which you don't have right now. So I would say register with the SET and give the SET when you want. If I think SATs have also been temporarily put on hold right now. So I don't think you're going to be able to register with a SAT that hasn't been conducted as yet. Yes, have I missed anything else?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So can we quickly see? So that's Atia. Is Atia visible to
Yes,
everyone? Atia, wave out. Atia is that lovely young lady who's waving right now in a blue striped shirt. Can we see Shweta?
Hi.
Hi, Shweta, we need to see you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shweta is the archaeologist, anthropologist that I was talking about. Yeah. And now let's have the stars of my team. Yash, Ahan, Bharat. Where are you guys? Come on, don't be shy. Okay. Ahan, that's Ahan. And that is not a blackboard behind him. That is a softboard. Just in case you are wondering. Yeah, so that's Ahan. And Yash.
Man, I'm visible.
Yes, yes. That's Yash. And did Bharat make it?
Yeah.
No?
I think his internet's too weak for video, ma'am.
No, but he's
Anyway,
visible.
he's there. He's out there somewhere. Are we good to sign off? Yes.
Yeah, ma'am. The next webinar takes place on the 10th, which is exactly 1 week from today, at 12 noon again.
Okay.
So we'll be sending the email within the middle of the week.
Okay. So let me sign off. Let me thank you once again for being. And now this is the advantage of virtual, right? That I'm going to make some assumptions. Thank you so much for being such an energetic, happy, optimistic audience. Thank you for joining us in the middle of your Sunday. Thank you for, seriously, thank you for joining us. I'm so happy that you're curious about liberal arts and you're curious about SSLA. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share this with all of you and for the team for making this possible. Let me sign off simply saying this. This is the perfect time to think and to have conversations at home with your parents and your siblings and your uncles and your aunts and your grandparents. Not just about what program do I join, but what kind of a life do I want for myself and what kind of a life do I want for my children? And what does that life need from me? And if I have to offer myself some kind of stability and peace and contentment in the future, what kind of skills and what kind of qualities and what kind of abilities and what kind of resilience should I be learning? And therefore, what kind of an educational program should I look out for? I hope at the end of those conversations, the path will lead to a liberal arts program. And I hope it will take you to the liberal arts and SSLA program. So do check us out on Facebook and YouTube and our website. Do write into us if you have any questions. Thank you once again from the entire team at the Symbiosis School for Liberal Arts. And I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. And let me be a little cheesy. Same time, same channel, next Sunday for webinar number 3. Ahan's laughing. This is an overdose of Netflix and Amazon and everything that's happening. Thank you so much. And do join us next Sunday at noon for the seminar 3 in our series of webinars. Thank you and have a great day. Be safe. Stay indoors. Wash your hands. Cook something new. Learn a new dance. Do whatever. But enjoy your stay at home. Thank you so much.